So for those who are following me along in this TanStack start journey, I want to walk you through how you can do file uploads, and hopefully I can do this in like 5 minutes. So to demo this out, I have over here a button you can click to add a new segment to my course. I'm going to type in some random stuff here, and then I'm going to select a file. So over here, I will select any of these files. I've got a 4 megabyte file. And then I will finally just click on create content. So what this is going to do is it uploads a file to my local file system. Okay, if I look over here, I have files, and it just created this one, I believe, and it put it directly in my files. Again, I was using S3 uploads before, but I figured, hey, why not just make this as simple as possible and just store it directly in the file system, and I can host this on a VPS and have, disk storage. On a more advanced production system, I'd probably say use S3, but for something small like this, it doesn't hurt to just store it on the disk. So how exactly did I get that set up? I'm going to go ahead and walk you through. So the first thing is I have this onSubmit function, and when you submit it, you get this values object, which is basically just information that was taken from a form. I think I'm using like React hook forms. If I go and look at the form, yeah, we have a use form hook, and it basically just has like a file type over here. So we have an input with a file type, and this is just a shadcn default form. So if you go to the shadcn docs and read through it, this is like how you'd actually do a file. But keep in mind the name is called video. So that's what we want to keep in mind as we kind of walk through the code. So the first thing is when this form's submitted, I'm going to go ahead and check if video was defined. So they did select a file from their file system. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a form data object, and I'm going to attach that file, that video, to a property called file. And then we're going to send that over here to a server function. So I have a server function called upload video function. I'm going to pass in that form data. This is the key. You have to pass in form data, I believe, for this to work. You might be able to try it with just a file object. I haven't tried yet. Now, if we look at the function, it's called upload video fn. And this is the key part that I forgot and wasted like 30 minutes. You have to make sure that this is a post request method. Otherwise, you cannot send over form data, and TanStack start just doesn't know how to process the form data, and it's just going to be empty. Okay, so if you have that set up correctly, I do some middleware authentication to make sure that only an admin can upload this. Right now I'm just checking to make sure it's like a certain email, but I won't dive into that. And then we validate it and we say, hey, we want to make sure that the data that comes over is a form data. And then we get the handler here to get that form data, and then we can extract that file. So like I just showed you, if I were to open this up side by side, we are attaching a file property to the form data, but then over in the back end, we're going to grab that file, make sure that it's defined, and if it is defined, we get the array buffer from the file, we convert it to a buffer, and then I send that buffer to a save file function. Let's just go ahead and look at this, and you'll see all it does is basically create a directory. If it doesn't exist, I already have a files directory, so it's going to go ahead and create that directory, and then it's going to write that file buffer to that directory. Okay, using the key that was passed in, and then also just appends an MP4. Although I think we do that over here. So yeah, we make a key with the MP4 extension, and then we save it to disk. And then we return the key back. And the reason we're returning the key from this, so like you'll see here, we return a video key, because if we go back to the add page and look where this is used, once we've uploaded the file, we then call another server function to then store all the metadata, right? So a user can update the title, the content, the slug, which you have saw on all of these, the form, right? You have all these things a user can enter data into. And then we basically create this segment, which is just, if I go to my schema, you'll see that we have a segments table over here, and I'm just storing that information in my Postgres table. And the main takeaway is, again, the video key. This is optional. This could be potentially undefined or null. So we want to make sure that we just pass it null if it's not actually set, which is why we're doing all this logic. Now, technically, I think every segment should probably have a video, but I did that just as a user experience standpoint of like, if I'm an admin, I want to be able to upload the video later, but maybe just create all the segments and just upload them when I finish them. And if you do want to see how this server function works, again, I want to make sure that the admin is the only one who can call this function. It takes in a validator object that's going to take in all that data. Over here, I'm doing some logic to figure out like what the order number needs to be before I store it in the database, because all of these segments in the course, they need to have a particular order, right? And so that's a value. If you look over here, that's a value that we store so that I can actually sort them before they come back from the back end and display them in the correct order on the left side navigation. And then finally, we create the segment. So this is just basically, calling that database insert method, is passing that data, and then it's going to return the new segment that got created from storing that in Postgres. So again, the main takeaways is you have to basically pass a form data object to your server function, and then you have to make sure that you're doing method post, and then you should be able to extract that file from your form data that comes in and then do something with it. Now, I would say if you're watching this video, leave a comment if I even need a form data. I think at some point I was trying to just pass the file directly. So like, for example, this is a file object, and I was trying to basically say like this, the pass in the file, and then I try to refactor this on the back end to, instead of taking a form data object, I wanted to take in like a file instance. This was not working, but this was before I figured that I didn't have the method post. So this could be an approach that works. I guess what I'd ask for you guys is if you do test this out with just a file instead of a form data object, let me know if it works, because that would actually simplify the logic as well. Because I don't really like the need to have to create a form data object and then send that in the server function. I'd rather just send the file because we have it, right? But you all need to go investigate for me. I'm paying you guys good money. You need to figure this out for me. And you guys leave a comment for me so that me and everyone else can progress with learning TanStack Start. All right, have a good day. Happy coding.